Hey there, it's Ann Pearson, and welcome back to the Paralegal Coach Podcast show. Before I jump into today's episode, I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has been emailing me, listening to the Jacob Reeder interview. You guys, if you missed it, you have to go back to that. It was episode 170. It was the first one that came out in the new year. And oh my goodness, the feedback that I have received just the first day that it came out, messages on LinkedIn from people thanking me for the inspiration because you're currently listening to this podcast, even though you're not a paralegal yet. Maybe you're working at the front desk like Jacob was, or you're in a paralegal assistant role, or you just took a job to get a job to pay the bills and you really want that paralegal position. I hear you. Gosh, that was so nice to hear all of these compliments and things coming in, and I'll be sure to pass them along to Jacob, but I knew that you guys were going to love that. I'm glad I kicked off the year with that. So we are still on the Paralegal Survival Toolkit. We're at part 6. Yeah, this is part 6. So we have 7 and 8 left to go, so only 2 more to go. And today's episode, I want to talk about what paralegals can do to survive a toxic workplace. This is going to hit an emotional chord for many of you because when we talk about workplace culture and office dynamics, really what we're talking about is office politics, right? Whether you're in a small firm, a corporate legal department, a government agency, or a big litigation team, it doesn't matter. You've probably noticed something, that the legal profession has its own ecosystem. It's not always welcoming or easy to navigate. Some workplaces are supportive, some are chaotic, some are intense, and some, well, they're downright toxic. And some of the reason why you hate Sunday evenings because you dread having to go back into the office on Monday morning, and I hate that for you. So hopefully today will help you a little bit if that's the situation. So if you've ever found yourself wondering, why does this place feel so stressful, or why is everyone so tense? And why do I feel like an outsider? Which maybe is a good thing if things are intense, right? I want you to hear something clearly. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, you are not the problem. You're adjusting to a culture that sometimes forgets to explain the rules, right? So let's talk about, maybe first I'll give you a quick story because I've worked in toxic workplaces before. I hate to admit it, but many years ago, I worked in a firm where, let's just say, it wasn't exactly healthy. Now, I loved the team that I worked on, and I worked on amazing cases, and I traveled throughout, New York and DC and Florida, and this was when I was in Atlanta. So I loved the team that I was working on, which was some lawyers in Atlanta and some lawyers in New York and DC offices. But internally, inside the office. Now, thank goodness that I was away from the office enough that I didn't have to get too deep in it. But we had an office manager who would take his pack of 4 to 5 favorites, mix of like paralegals and legal secretaries. He would literally take them to the box seats that the firm had at the Atlanta Braves Stadium during the workday. I mean, sometimes it was on the weekends, they'd hang out after work and stuff. And that same group was the biggest gossipers and troublemakers in the office. And I remember thinking, did I somehow step back into high school? But here's what that experience taught me and what I want to teach you today. It's not your job to fix your workplace culture, but it is your job to learn how to navigate in it so you can thrive in your role. Because I can tell you that yeah, I was out of the office a lot because I was traveling to other offices, so it didn't impact me as much as it could have. But because of the environment that I had and the team that I loved to work on, I was able to get past it. And so I want to try to help you do that. Before I jump into the framework, I do want to throw something in here. This episode is by no means telling you that you should suck it up and go into a toxic workplace with a smile on your face. And I'm absolutely not condoning how others behave. Life is too short to work that many hours in a day with a toxic environment. I would encourage you to leave if it's that bad. Now, that being said, I know that that's not always possible. You've got bills to pay. And I also know that it might just be like what my situation was, where you're in a toxic work culture, maybe the office itself, especially when it's the office manager or the office managing partner or someone in the lead role. But if you can segment that out from your practice group and the people you work with, then that's probably where this episode will help the most. If you're in a situation where it is just completely toxic, but you also have bills to pay, this episode is going to be more about how to navigate kind of a tricky workplace environment and give you some steps that might help with your daily experience, at least long enough for you to see if there's, if this is a permanent type of culture thing, or if there are things you could do to make it tolerable or give you time to find another job. All right, so I'm going to give you some steps to stay grounded and professional and maybe be able to understand the landscape and avoid the drama, stay focused more on your role. All right, step 1, observe. Observe before you engage. Now, this might really apply if you're new there. And doesn't mean new like you're a brand new paralegal. It could be. But this could mean, especially this time of the year, a lot of people are leaving and going to new positions. You've been recruited, it's after January and the recruiters are out knowing, okay, bonuses have been paid out and people are ready to make moves for the year. Maybe you're a paralegal with 20 years of experience, but you're new to this firm. So when you're new, your instinct is to fit in quickly. That's natural. But I'm going to ask you to start with observe first. Ask yourself, who talks to whom? Who tends to stir drama? Who are the people huddled in a corner whispering in the break room? Who willingly shares their knowledge and who hoards it? Who seems supportive to people's faces, but their actions say otherwise? Now, this isn't about judging people. It's about understanding your environment. Think of it like you're studying the terrain before you go down that hiking trail. Okay, step 2 is to identify the safe people, because not everybody in that workplace is going to be safe for giving advice or taking advice, venting, or collaboration. So the safe people are going to respect your role. They're going to keep things confidential, although I would warn you, don't reveal things to someone that you don't want to be passed around as information. But safe people don't gossip, and they want you to succeed. Versus the other side of that, the unsafe people, the people that you observe, you're observing them first and you see like, oh, this person loves drama. That person complains constantly. That person undermines colleagues. That person twists stories, right? So you've observed that. Your career is going to depend on knowing the difference, at least in this new place. So look for people who demonstrate professionalism, not just friendliness, because sometimes especially that over-friendliness, is a sign where they're trying to loop you in. And you know the saying, if they're gossiping to you about other people, then they're gossiping about you when you're not in the room. Step 3, leading me to stay out of the drama triangle. The she said this, or did you hear what he did, or here's the real story. Don't participate. Don't feed it. Don't get pulled in. If someone tries to drag you in, you could say something like, well, I'm still learning everyone's roles here, so I'd rather stay neutral. Or just simply, I don't want to get in the middle of anything. Or, here's a good one, especially if you're new, I'm focusing on getting up to speed with my files right now. That's about all my brain can take. It's going to protect your reputation more than you know. Because in law firms and, government agencies, wherever you are, word travels fast. And boundaries travel even faster. I'll also add here from the management side of things, as a paralegal manager, I knew who the members of the gossip group were. I knew who their complainers were. So do your managers. Just because those people seem the friendliest to the new person doesn't mean you should associate with them. Otherwise, you could become guilty by association because your managers know who they are. Now, here's the other thing. When you associate with that group, even if you do try to stay neutral when they're doing their griping or gossiping, after a while, their negative mindset will creep in on you. You know that saying, like one bad apple spoils the whole barrel? It's because a bad apple, I don't know if it's the worm that has gases or something, but the gases are released from a bad piece of fruit and the gases get into the other good fruit. Don't let that happen, because I promise you, it happened to me. I'll be honest, in my very, very first paralegal job, I went into that job so excited. I loved it. I couldn't believe right out of college, I'm working in a law firm and I'm a paralegal and I've got this beautiful window office. It's a long story. I can tell you that later. But yeah, I mean, I loved my job. After a while of going to lunch with some of the other paralegals who didn't love their job and who would complain about everything and gossip about people, I started thinking of leaving my job, the job that I loved. I loved my job, and yet I was ready to leave. So don't let that happen to you. All right, step 4, document the patterns. This is where your paralegal instincts can come into play. So if you notice there's this repeated tension or people undermining you, maybe with just little slight words, and it always happens in front of attorneys, or there's inappropriate behavior, document it, not as a threat and not as evidence, but as clarity, so that later you can see the patterns for yourself, because it's going to be to protect you. You're not being dramatic. You're not documenting it for HR or anything like that. You're just documenting it so that you can go back to it a year from now when you realize, oh, this is why I need to stay away from these people. Step 5, you can decide your next step. What's your next step? Well, it could be grow, shift, or exit. Because not all workplaces are worth staying in. But some of them, like mine, was worth staying in because I had the other better support system in the immediate group of people that I was working with. So ask yourself, can I grow here in spite of that? Can I shift how I'm navigating this environment, or is it impossible because they're all on my team and there's no getting away from them? So you don't have to stay somewhere that makes you feel miserable. You don't have to earn your suffering, and you sure don't have to prove that you're tough enough to handle it. You know, I did a podcast episode a while back that was an interview of Tony Sipp. He's a paralegal manager out in California, and he gave some really good advice on this. The episode was titled something like, "You Have a Right to Pursue Happiness." And that title was based on a quote that Tony gave during the interview about this same topic. So I don't have the episode number in front of me, but if I have time before this comes out, I will throw that episode number in the show notes for you to listen to. It was a really good interview, and Tony's got such a great voice to listen to. His laugh is just contagious. So I would highly recommend listening to that episode. Look, there are healthy teams out there. There are supportive attorneys. There are workplaces that respect and develop paralegals. If you're in a situation where that's not your environment, you can make it your environment or find the environment. I promise you, if you are one of those paralegals out on Reddit or Facebook groups who are being mistreated at work, who are dealing with toxic workplace cultures, and other people, maybe you're dealing with it and you go on Reddit to complain about it and you realize everybody's complaining about the same thing, I promise you, that is not the majority. It's not. It seems like it is because the paralegals who are in great work environments and working for great paralegal managers, they're not on there complaining. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't take the time to go in and write supportive things. The only time you find to do stuff like that is when you have a complaint. So, I just don't read those and think this is the way it is working as a paralegal. And here's something that a lot of paralegals don't realize is your workplace culture can affect how fast you grow your career. So keep that in mind. All right, so don't forget that we've got the Paralegal Toolkit guide. It's at paralegaltoolkit.com. And next week's going to be another big one. I'm going to talk about tech next week. You don't want to miss it. All right, remember this. You are not responsible for fixing your workplace, but you are responsible for protecting your energy inside it. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.